The academic opening of the Stellenbosch University Business School. I am Merwe, a member of the teaching and learning team, and I will be your master of ceremonies for this evening. Please join me for the academic procession. Welcome to our esteemed guests, Professor Wim de Villiers, Rector and Vice-Chancellor of the University of Stellenbosch, Professor Stan du Plessis, Chief Operating Officer, Professor Duresh Ramjugarnath, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Learning and Teaching, Professor Eugene Klutter, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Research, Innovation and Postgraduate Studies, Professor Hester Klopper, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Strategy, Global and Corporate Affairs, Professor Nico Koopman, Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Social Impact Transformation and Personnel, Dr. Ronald Rutti, Registrar of the University of Stellenbosch, Professor Ingrid Woolard, Dean of the Faculty of Economic and Management Sciences, Professor Louise Warnich, Dean of the Faculty of Science, Professor Wikus van Niekerk, Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, Dr. Antoinette van der Merwe, Senior Director, Learning and Teaching, Professor Simon Soesman, Head of Stellenbosch Business School Advisory Board, all advisory board members, academic and support staff of the Business School and USB Ed, alumni and students. Just another special mention of Dr. Antoinette van der Merwe, who will be the keynote speaker later in the program. Wamkelekile, baie welkom, welcome. It makes me so proud to watch that virtual academic procession because it shows how the business school has danced into this new normal like a prima ballerina. It's a wonderful example of our mission to create a truly human connection in spite of physical proximity. So we are confident that you will feel our enthusiasm as we symbolically open for another successful year. Let me give you a brief overview of the program. Next, we will have the official welcoming by our director, followed by the keynote address. There will be a beautiful video showcasing our alumni from the business school. Then an address on the Alumni Future Fund. Teaching and Learning will share a presentation of the business school's journey during the pandemic, and then proceedings will conclude with a vote of thanks and the formal closing. Our first speaker is Professor Mark Smith, Director of the Business School, who will take the floor to do the official welcoming.
Really proud to be here to welcome you to our academic opening of the Stellenbosch University Business School today. Once again, we're hosting online, and I guess that underlines the realities of our situation, but also perhaps how we've been able to adapt and change the way we work, and maybe even reach out to more people who are not necessarily in the same space as us geographically or in terms of time zones, but people who also may be constrained in terms of their mobilities or their availability to travel today. So welcome to the business school. I'm also very proud that it's our teaching and learning team that will host us today and be showcased across the academic opening, because it's thanks to them that we've led us through, that we've survived and succeeded and thrived during the challenges of the last 12 to 18 months, leading us through those difficulties of rapidly moving online and in 2020 and 2021. But also it's a kind of opportunity to celebrate the skills, the competencies and innovations that we have in teaching and learning, both in the business school and in the wider university through our keynote speaker today. So as I said, I'm proud to welcome you here today on behalf of the business school. I'm proud to be part of a school like Stellenbosch, which has such a wonderful history. Starting 1964 with the first MBA, it's now in its mid-50s and in the prime of its life, I would say. As a man who celebrates his birthday this week, also in his mid-50s, I can firmly say this is the case. We're one of the first business schools in Africa to operate at such a level of quality. We're the first business school to have the prestigious triple accreditation of the American, the European, and the British recognition of business schools. But we have a strong reputation and recognition in the important subjects, and in particular in responsible leadership. It's never more important today as schools are challenged to provide leaders to face the issues such as sustainability, such as corruption, such as how we support people during their careers through challenges like the pandemic. All of these underline the needs for responsible leadership, responsible leaders who have an impact in society, whatever their walk of life. And that's the way that we as an institution, a university and a business school, have the biggest impact. We can do our research, we can talk on the TV, we can write books, but really our students, our alumni, our graduates that go on to really change the world, and we're very proud of those. And we're also proud of our African heritage and our African roots, and we firmly believe that we have something to offer as an African business school, the students and stakeholders of South Africa, of Africa and the continent, but also the rest of the world. Africa shouldn't be a recipient only of knowledge, but should be a source of knowledge and research and teaching for the rest of the world. And we're proud to lead the way in that sense. During this last 18 months, 2 years, we've consolidated our position in terms of working in responsible leadership. We've reaffirmed our commitment to entrepreneurship. We've been hosting the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, which is one of the key worldwide survey for entrepreneurship activities in different countries, and we represent that for South Africa. We firmly believe that's also an important lever for us in the future to influence wider society and help promote the economy and promote economic growth. We've also confirmed our commitment and our expertise in delivery and operations of online and blended learning. As somebody who came from Europe 18 months ago, I was deeply impressed that Stellenbosch was actually ahead of the curve of many other institutions and business schools in Europe who were firmly based in a presence-based type pedagogy. And the pedagogy that had been put in place by my colleagues that are hosting us today really confirms that expertise that we have here in the school. And we see that today, or this last week, where we've relaunched our new suite of postgraduate diplomas, where we have offered transformative learning pathways where students can take many different pathways, take different speeds of how they approach their learning, sometimes working together, sometimes working with other students from other programs in order to increase the diversity, increase their choice, and kind of reflect the needs of modern learners today. We've also renewed our commitment to instilling responsible leadership across all those programs, to firmly emphasize our commitment to be a value creator for a better world through both our research and through our teaching. The year ahead is exciting. We have entered a new strategic phase for the business school, which we've been working on together inside, but also outside with our different stakeholders. We will host the world's Responsible Leadership Conference, bringing together experts, academics, practitioners, and students working in that area, again, underlining our role as a leader in that space. We have new projects in flexible learning pathways, including microcredits, where we're able to increase the options and choices of students even further, and new investments in faculty and research, both in development finance and in that key area of entrepreneurship. And as well as reaffirming our commitment to responsible leadership, we also wish to celebrate the other unique dimensions of the business school. We're the only place on the continent that hosts a Centre for Futures and Foresight Research, vital for understanding where we're going and how we're going to deal with the challenges of the future. But also our expertise in development finance that helps economic growth, economic development across the continent and in South Africa. And we do that ourselves, but also through our partnerships with other institutions across the continent, but also around the world. We see ourselves as a gateway to Africa for those prestigious academic partners around the world, but also a gateway for our students to the rest of the world through those networks with our prestigious academic partners. Finally, 2022 will bring an exciting new identity for us in the business school. We will launch a new identity and a new logo. The USB logo, USB name, and the logo you can see just over my shoulder here has served us well for many years. But it's also now time to look forward. We look forward to a new visual identity that embraces a clearer, cleaner way to communicate with our publics in South Africa, and around the world, but also reaffirms our commitments to being proud of our Stellenbosch heritage, being proud to be part of the university, and a renewed commitment to create leaders and people who are prepared to make a difference through responsible leadership. So I leave you today with a sneak preview of what's to come.
Thank you, Mark. How exciting to enter a new era together, one that's not shrouded in the dread of this pandemic. Our next speaker is Dr. Antoinette van der Merwe. She will present her keynote address titled The Future of Higher Education, Learning and Teaching. Antoinette van der Merwe is Senior Director, Division for Learning and Teaching Enhancement at Stellenbosch University. She reports to the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Learning and Teaching. This division consists of the Center for Teaching and Learning, the Center for Learning Technologies, the Language Center, the Academic Planning and Quality Assurance Center, and the Hybrid Learning Project. She has been involved in professional academic support for the past 24 years at Stellenbosch University. She holds a MA in History from Texas A&M University in the USA and a PhD from Stellenbosch University in Science and Technology Studies. Her main research interests include the scholarship of educational learning, the effective use of learning technologies in higher education, and language planning and management.
Thank you so much, Micheline. Thanks for the kind introduction. And it is a wonderful pleasure and privilege to be part of this event this evening and to present a few thoughts on the future of higher education, learning and teaching, trends, challenges and opportunities. And I'll also give you a brief glimpse of the transformation journey at Stellenbosch University. So that's what the and 3 dots are there for. Now, talking about the future of higher education, learning and teaching, I think when reflecting on that, Margaret Dennis in 2020 refers to the March cover of The Economist when she reflects on the opportunities for higher education post-COVID. She says that for most, it seems like the world has hit the pause button. But I would argue in Stellenbosch University's case, and I've said that on many occasions, I think COVID has actually put us in fast forward mode. And I think already on the 22nd of May 2020, Prof. Wim de Villiers, our rector, mentioned there can be little doubt that COVID-19 now 8 weeks under lockdown have drastically altered the future. As a university community, we have experienced firsthand how our daily activities have been displaced into the virtual world, a reality that will invariably become a feature of the higher education landscape of tomorrow. Of course, this was in 2020. We're now at the beginning of 2022. And I think originally when COVID and the pandemic hit, we had to react, rethink, reflect, and rediscover. But I think the past year and a half, since we've gotten over the shock, I think we've had some time to reimagine and revision. And it's also very interesting to see how research is emerging in this field, specifically in terms of reflecting about the trend shaping the future of higher education. And in this case, I would like to share with you very briefly one of the, I think, seminal works that we always look at in terms of higher education, teaching and learning, and that's the so-called Horizon report that EduCourse releases every year. It was actually quite interesting to me reading this 2021 Horizon report. Normally it's trends and challenges. This year, they actually focused on 5 different clusters. And the first cluster in terms of trends shaping higher education is the social cluster. And I want to emphasize this evening that each of these elements and trends, I think, hold both opportunities, but also challenges for higher education, learning and teaching. The first one is remote work and learning. And I don't think I have to say too much about that because I think we've all been living it. But just to give you some stats, in 1 week in 2020, the MS Teams app's users increased from 32 million to 44 million users, with China doubling even after the COVID restrictions were lifted. So this is a reality. The digital divide, however, and the terrible inequalities within the South African society, unfortunately also became so much more evident during the COVID pandemic. I headed up a loan laptop project, and in 2020 and 2021, we distributed 2,608 loan laptops to our students throughout South Africa. We also distributed monthly data bundles. But what we also saw in terms of mental health issues is feelings of isolation exacerbated by worry, stress linked to economic uncertainty, job losses. And those are prevailing issues that will continue to shape the future of higher education, I believe. In terms of technologies, of course, widespread adoption of hybrid learning models. We had to pivot at Stellenbosch University from the 20th of March to the 20th of April into a fully online university. We went from emergency remote teaching, learning and assessment to augmented remote teaching, learning and assessment when the lockdown levels went down and we could supplement it with more face-to-face teaching. But we remain with challenges in terms of increased use of learning technology, but also how do we create engagement? How do we assess with these new learning technologies? So, but we're by no means perfect, but I think those are trends that will shape us and brilliant opportunities and challenges for the future. Online faculty development, I think I lost count at about 100 webinars that my division presented for staff during COVID. But we've got all those resources, and I think that will shape the future and is a wonderful opportunity for the future of higher education, learning and teaching. Economic, I don't have to say too much about this either. You just have to open up a newspaper or a new Network 24, and you see messages such as 16 billion in study debt at university, 10 billion shortage in NSFAS, missing middle. So I think in terms of decreasing higher education funding, that we are in a fiscal crisis is also a reality. But then also demands for new different workforce skills. I attended a World Economic Forum meeting last year, and along with all the other workforce skills, one that was highlighted was initiative during COVID-19 as one of the skills that we really have to inculcate in terms of learning and teaching in our students. And then uncertainty in economic models. As recently stated in an Economist article, what is clear is that the old economic paradigm is looking tired. One way or another, change is coming. Environmentally, not just COVID related, but yes, climate change is the reality, but also creates huge opportunities in higher education, learning and teaching, as you possibly know or not. Stellenbosch University recently launched a School for Climate Change. So wonderful, exciting opportunities, interdisciplinary research and learning and teaching opportunities. Reduction in work travel is a reality, but then also an opportunity to again focus on sustainable development, to potentially focus on the sustainability development goal number 4, more specifically inclusive, equitable, quality education, and lifelong learning opportunities for all. So I think with these challenges, huge opportunities are opening up for learning and teaching. Then last but not least, on the political front, the last dimension that is mentioned in the Horizon report, increase in online globalization. We know when we couldn't travel physically, of course, we all became online travelers in terms of attending conferences, virtual mobility of our students, but at the same stage, also the rise of nationalism, which presents a real challenge for higher education, teaching and learning, because our very foundations is open and free exchange of ideas and international collaboration. And how do we, in learning and teaching, prepare our students to be global citizens? Public funding for higher education, I don't think I want to say much more about that. Then these are some of the trends that were both, I think, opportunities and challenges for us. But then also in the Horizon report, they actually identify some key technologies and practices. One being artificial intelligence, which holds huge opportunities and promise in terms of undertaking tasks normally thought that only human cognitive processes and decision-making could do, for proctoring, grading, assessment, learning management systems, but also huge challenges in terms of ethical, legal challenges related to the emergence of these types of practices. And I could spend many, many hours just on this one topic, but I think the ethical use of AI is very important, and data capture and usage is key. Blended and hybrid course models, I'll share a little bit more with you what we are doing specifically with regards to hybrid learning, but I already mentioned emergency remote teaching and learning and assessment and what we engaged in during COVID. Learning analytics, definitely one of the trends, again, both opportunity, because through this analysis of all this data we have on students, we could make better evidence-informed decisions and potentially assist our students better, but There are also concerns about access to data, who controls the data, ownership, ethical use, how do we communicate with our students about what we see. So various issues there also to take note of, but also tremendous promise. The one which always puzzles me is we think it's going to get more traction, but even during COVID, we reached a flat line on open educational resources. So I'm still puzzled, and I think lots of researchers are puzzled why it's not utilized more widely. Then quality, a renewed focus on quality online learning and the design thereof, creating engagement, quality assessments in an online environment remains something that will influence the future of higher education, learning and teaching. And last but not least, another topic that I could potentially spend an hour on is micro-credentialing. And Mark, in his opening statement, also referred to that and how the business school is already grasping and engaging with opportunities around micro-credentialing. So while I'm on the topic of micro-credentialing, this is really something fascinating, which really, really, really fascinates me. And this is just one segmentation of the post-secondary credentials spectrum that you might want to look at after the talk by Holon IQ. Taking it from short courses, badges, boot camps, professional certifications, non-university issued, non-degree certificates, university issued, and then degree programs, accredited programs. So really, and this is just one framework that I'm showing you, there's many other types of frameworks out there, but this really could either be seen as a threat or it could be seen as a huge opportunity as we create more flexible pathways for our students in terms of higher education. So what does this all mean for us? So within the Horizon report, they present 4 scenarios: growth, constraint, and collapse. All I want to focus on this evening is the transformation scenario and share with you how I think this transformation future scenario could become a reality for Stellenbosch University, and to a large extent is already a reality as we are on that transformation journey. What do we require for that? I would say, first of all, digital transformation. I'll say a little bit more about that. A learning-centered approach. Mark also already alluded to that. Student success, really focusing on our students as our customers, looking at recruitment, support, and retention of our students. Lecturer development, reward, and recognition. I think for those lecturers in the room, I see quite a number of you in the room, the virtual room tonight. I think that is something in terms of reward, recognition, and care that I'll talk about a little bit as well. And then last but not least, what Mark also alluded to, flexible, differentiated academic offering and assessment. So let's start with the first one, and that's digital transformation. And I'm starting with the end in mind and really saying where I believe Stellenbosch University is on the road to, and that is transforming our whole institution, not just through technology, but through new educational operating models, transforming our institution's operations, strategic direction, as well as our value proposition. We can't, of course, do it without the necessary building blocks in place. Of course, we've got to look at digitization, changing from analog to physical in terms of digitizing our information, organizing information, then also digitalization, automating processing, streamlining processes. And of course, that is all in progress. But if you really want to get to that ultimate, I would say, goal of digital transformation, we have to look at deep shifts, coordinated shifts in 3 areas according to Wheel 2021. And I think the first, of course, is technology. We have to look at our technology platforms, alignment, that whole strategy. But I think the more difficult ones, and I'll speak about that in the next few slides, is actually changing our culture, the behaviors, approaches, shared ideals, also in terms of learning and teaching. And I think that is where we have to work towards. And then last but not least, I think the workforce, skills and duties of those supporting the new ways of working, supporting the new ways of learning and teaching. So what do we mean by a culture change in learning and teaching? And I think the business school is already way down the road in terms of how you design and curriculate and how you plan your learning activities. But this learning-centered approach to teaching is so incredibly important. And for you as students here this evening as well, what our learning and teaching policy of Stellenbosch University say is that we focus on learning as a partnership, where students are seen as co-creators of knowledge and learning environments. The learning-centered approach teaching activities facilitate knowledge building. So it's really about the co-creation of knowledge, creating learning activities that foster those, and helping our students to learn how to learn. So that is the first culture change, and I think it is happening. And what I see in terms of the design of the programs of the business school, it is already happening. Then I think also the business school is a very good example in terms of your student focus, but I think the whole university should have that focus. Really, in terms of personalized wraparound support, a welcoming environment, our student group is becoming more diverse, but not just focusing on our current students, but really looking at our recruitment, but then also retaining our students as lifelong learners, as Maties forever, Maties for altyd. And I think we can do that, and we're already doing that by broadening access with success, also considering the digital divide and embedding student tracking. Of course, remember the tracking in terms of using learning analytics and student data, approach with caution, but doing it responsibly in collaboration with student groups throughout the entire life cycle of the student. Fourthly, of course, what I already mentioned, also in terms of our faculty development programs, the professionalization of the teaching role, getting that magic mix of the integration of learning and teaching, research, and social impact, the three roles of an academic, but then also working on the teaching and learning side, helping our lecturers from reflective practitioners to scholarly teachers, teaching scholars, and leaderly teaching scholars for those who'd like to progress in that route. And then I think something that became really, really, really important also during the COVID time period now, and that is reward recognition and care. Care for our staff, not just our teaching staff, but also our professional academic support staff. Last but not least, Professor Martin Butler, I'm stealing your analogy of the Lego blocks in terms of demonstrating flexibility, different pathways in terms of academic and knowledge offering, differentiation. I think we as an institution need to decide what we are good at. Mark mentioned in his intro quite a number of outstanding elements of the business school itself, and really differentiate according to our niche strength. And then sharing and reusing of content, contextualizing and reusing in different programs and collaboration. Then, as I said, collaboration. I don't think we can do it alone. Partnerships and collaborations is part of the name of the game, and I'll share some exciting partnership and collaboration that an agreement that we just signed end of last year. And then last but not least, I don't know if you can read the cartoon. I taught Stripe how to whistle. I don't hear him whistling. I said I taught him. I didn't say he learned it. So I think something that we really scratched our heads about, and also with our brand new assessment policy, is not just assessment of learning, but also assessment for and as learning. I've already showed you this credential spectrum, but maybe to share how we view it at Stellenbosch University, we plotted on credit bearing, moving from non-credit bearing to credit bearing, and mode of delivery from face-to-face to fully online. And I think this year, this hybrid learning with calendar blocks of fully online learning supplemented with synchronous contact learning, either online or on campus, is really a strategic project for Stellenbosch University, and one that we would like to grow in. But again, also looking at our short courses, also looking at our fully online taster courses, potentially in our open educational resources mode, and then of course also on campus programs, and how do we blend technology in a meaningful way in that as well. Quality, remember the Horizon report talked about quality learning and teaching, and this is just an overview and a slide to show you in terms of our hybrid learning programs, how we approach So it's not about the technology, it's about the learning and teaching, it's about the program, it's about the program renewal. And there's a whole workflow going from faculty nominations to program registration, then in parallel, the marketing, but then also the learning design and development, implementation, very important, the evaluation that feeds back in again. And this remains non-negotiable for Stellenbosch University. Then what I want to share with you tonight is the exciting partnership that we just signed as an institution with edX in terms of our online platform for our short courses, potentially modules, online degrees that we will start exploring with them this year to be housed and on their platform together with other universities such as Harvard, Berkeley, and other prestigious institutions. So yes, so what does the future hold for us? I've shared some trends, opportunities, and challenges with you tonight. I've shared some key technologies and practices, also highlighting that each of them has a dark side and a very flashy side and opportunity that we can use, but we also have to approach with caution. I've shared with you the transformation future scenario for Stellenbosch and the route I believe we're on through digital transformation, a learning-centered approach, student success, a focus on that, lecturer development, reward and recognition and care, and then also flexible and differentiated academic offering, and then also, of course, assessment. So in conclusion, and I'm very aware that I'm also speaking to, and there's people online from future studies. So I've added the S there because I do think there's multiple futures for higher education, learning and teaching, depending on how we embrace the challenges and the opportunities and the trends and progress on our route of transformation. Because I am very careful tonight to not make it seem as if we've got all the answers, because I do feel we are still very much in an environment of VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. I see that predicting the fifth wave of COVID to hit around May this year, who knows? We're looking at the higher education funding scenarios that I shared with you, just briefly talking about that. So there's a variety of uncertainties, volatilities, complexities, ambiguities. As I already mentioned, our student body is getting more diverse, a lot of complexity, also in terms of embedding graduate skills, graduate attributes in our programs. So I don't think it's a simple picture that I want to present to you tonight. But I do believe in these times of VUCA, we have to remember what we learned during COVID-19, because I think we learned quite a lot. And we learned to be agile. My goodness, we had to move as an institution. And I think we accomplished in about a month what we possibly would not have achieved in a number of years. We learned to work across silos. We learned to collaborate, both internally within the institution, but then also outside of higher education. And that needs to continue with industry, with our higher education platform providers, with other universities, with other stakeholders, real collaboration. And then something I feel quite passionate about is not just to follow technology trends blindly, be dazzled by the bells and whistles, without constant research, scholarship, and constant reflecting on learning and teaching, and staying true to the vision of Stellenbosch University to be Africa's leading research-intensive university, globally recognized as excellent, inclusive, and innovative, where we advance knowledge in service of society. So that, in conclusion, is what I believe the trends currently are, if we look at the research, if we look at what's emerging, but also how Stellenbosch University, I believe, via our transformation journey. And of course, we're not there yet. We need to partner. We need to remain agile. We need to keep learning. But that is what I would like to share with you tonight. And I don't know, Martin or Micheline, if there are any questions or comments. I see there is something in the chat. So I don't know if there's
Yes.
any questions and comments.
So we've got 10 minutes left, Antoinette, and we'll open the floor for those comments, questions and comments. I just wanted to say that, you know, in this period of pandemic fatigue, it's really nice to be reminded by presentations like yours that we've risen to the challenge and we continue to do so. So thank you for that, you know, reminder of our spirit. Yes, let's open up for 10 minutes. Any questions or comments from the floor? Right, feel free to raise your hand. I see Njeri's hand up as the first hand on my screen. Please go ahead, Njeri.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for that overview of the trends and giving us a sense of the transformation scenario. I really enjoyed listening to you, and I wanted to see if I could extend your inputs a bit further and push you towards some of the constraints, also highlighting what you believe might be the role of us as a USB community in achieving the transformation scenario. So what do you believe are some of the constraints to this transformation that you propose in this scenario? And what do you see as the role of our community in terms of overcoming some of those? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. I think the USB has always been trailblazers, I think, in terms of moving out in front and really pushing the boundaries. So we've often looked at you, the Extended Learning Spaces project, where we're installing now on the main campus, on the Stellenbosch University campus, similar technology that's already in your classrooms that have been there for a number of years in terms of streaming and sharing. So I think you've always been the trailblazer. So I would like you to keep pushing the boundaries and really do that. I think some of the biggest constraints, and that's where I talked a little bit, and that's the whole another topic which I could potentially also spend 45 minutes on, is digital transformation. And I think the two things that are really difficult is the culture. I mean, the technology platforms, yes, it's tricky to get everything in place, get it stable, but really deep digital transformation, changing the way we work, changing the culture of learning and teaching, not just continuing the way we've been doing things and just doing it online now, but really thinking critically about how we can use the affordances of technology to do things differently, to change our way of working, change our way of learning and teaching. And then the other one is also the workforce, because I think there's a lot of work potentially also to be done. But again, with COVID-19, all those webinars, resources, I think at one stage, we would host a workshop physically pre-COVID and maybe 10, 15 people would attend. During COVID, in that month between 20th of March and 20th of April, we had attendance of over 200 people in some of our MS Teams webinars in terms of teaching online. How do I take my material online? So I think we just need to keep that momentum going. But of course, as Micheline also said, the fatigue is immense. So we also have to, that's why I brought in the care as well in one of my slides, and I feel quite strongly about that, both in terms of the professional academic support staff, but also the teaching staff, the staff I work with. And yeah, I really feel very strongly about that. So the constraints, I think, is going to be culture, workforce, I think those ones. But for the business school, please keep doing what you're doing. You're really pushing the boundaries. You're really doing a great job, and we learn from you a lot. I see Andre's hand also up.
We have 5 minutes left for Andre and you.
Thanks, Micheline. Hi, Antoinette.
Hi, Andre.
I think you and I have been involved in remote teaching since the late 1990s.
That is correct, yes.
It's been so primitive in those days. Anyway, so it doesn't surprise me that you and your team so successfully choreographed this major upheaval almost overnight. So thank you very much for that. Thank you also for this presentation, giving us a very concise and yet comprehensive overview of where we were, where we are, and where we're heading. My question is perhaps a bit unfair, but is there any evidence, any research either here or anywhere in the world regarding the performance of students in the COVID era? In other words, in the wake of hybrid and remote, etc. Now, performance, of course, I suppose you could measure very bluntly by looking at pass rates and pass marks. So partly that, but also in terms of the students' experience. Do they feel hard done by not being able to actually be in a classroom situation? And as along with that, are there any measurable differences in performances?
Yeah, I think, Andre, that's such an important question because, as you said, one could look at the blunt instrument of just student marks. And I mean, we've looked at that and we've actually seen, I think, if I now remember correctly, I looked at it end of last year, just in terms of the module pass marks in specifically 2020, and there was a marked increase. Whereas 2021, we saw a marked decrease. That's for undergraduate programs and not necessarily all faculties, but if you just take it as an average, in some faculties, it was more marked than others because people were quite concerned in 2021 because they saw a sharp drop from 2020, but it was more or less on par with 2019 again. So I think that is where assessment becomes crucial because we need to learn not just assessing on online using technology, but what I said about assessing for, of, and during learning. So I think that is one of the things we need to grapple with. In terms of the experiences of the students, it's again difficult to have a one size fits all. I think it really depended a lot on the environment that the student was in. I spoke about the data bundles and the laptop initiative we had. The one thing I had no control over or could not influence was the place where the students were at. So some students had excellent broadband, a really conducive room dedicated for their studies at home or wherever. Other students were in an environment that they had to share resources and share a space with multiple other students and family. So I think that deeply influenced, and I think the research is emerging now. Where the students felt hard done by, what we did find, one assumes, or some people assume, that because the students, the 18 to 24-year-olds are so-called digital natives, that they will just be able to do it online. Not necessarily. The literacy to study in an online environment versus playing games or doing social media on your cell phone, totally different literacies. So we also did, with the faculty development, we did student development. We quite a sophisticated student support side as to how to learn online in an online environment. And we also now have an onboarding program for all our prospective first-year students. So I must say it's a difficult one, but it's one that I think huge research still needs to be done. But the students did miss the physical contact. And I think, we all missed it, also in terms of learning and teaching, standing in a class, having the live bodies in front of us. And I think now that we know we miss it, I think we'll be very careful as to how we use it in the future, how we optimally use online, how we optimally use that very precious physical time that we have with our students in a physical environment. I don't know if that answers your question, Andrew. Thanks.
Perfectly. Thank you.
Thank you. We really should move on with the program now. I don't see any more hands. So just once again, thank you, Antoinette. I wish you could see the nods and hand claps in the room here. And I'm pretty sure in every space online as well.
Thank you so much for the opportunity again, Micheline, and thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
So now we're going to move on to a beautiful showcase of our alumni. There's a quote by Nelson Mandela that education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. The next video, titled Alumni Journeys, will showcase the real life impact of that statement.
My name is Bronwyn Davidson. I graduated with the postgraduate diploma in financial planning in 2018 and then went on to write my CFP board exam in the February 2020 sitting. This course for me was an extremely practical experience. Whatever I learned in each and every module, I could directly apply to what I did in my job, and it also helped me prepare for the CFP board exam. I was able to build up a fantastic resource base from the materials provided by the university. The more I learned, the more I wanted to learn, and it ignited a passion within me for this profession. I'd highly recommend this course to anyone looking to enter the industry, and even to anyone who has experience in the industry. It's changed my approach and my thinking in such a positive way that I can truly add value in what I do in the financial planning industry.
Hello, my name is Karishma Bulia. I'm a PG DIP Business Administration alumni from 2020, and I am currently an MBA candidate at USB. My studies have pushed me out of my comfort zone. Adding academic discipline to an already busy work schedule is challenging enough. Trying to juggle both work and studying during a pandemic has been a roller coaster. The process has, however, taught me to be more resilient and open to change. USB's proactive use of technology and blended learning solutions helped me make the transition to remote work in my professional life much easier. My exposure to blended learning at USB has helped me collaborate more effectively with my colleagues and maintain productivity despite the many challenges of COVID. While my journey is still in progress, USB has helped me embrace uncertainty and reminded me to stay curious.
Good day, I am Mia Barnard. I'm an industrial engineer working as a medical practice manager in Mossel Bay. I had the privilege to study at the USB for the past 3 years, first completing a diploma in project management, and now I'm halfway in achieving an MBA. I really want to thank my excellent lecturers as well as the professional support staff of USB. You made me change and stay relevant. You really contributed in making us fully integrated South Africans with a proud identity that creates positive growth. I also wish every student a very successful academic year. I hope you enjoy the rewards of being challenged appropriately and being mentally stretched. I'm looking forward to this journey with you. Thank you very much.
Good day. I'm Edwina Sonnenberg. I've done the postgraduate diploma in leadership development at USB. What a great journey that was. I've built networks and friendships that will last a lifetime. The university doesn't only teach you about critical thinking, but it teaches you how to engage and have empathy. I think my emotional intelligence has skyrocketed after that. Thank you, USB, for giving us the opportunity not to only learn, but engage with one another. Faculty was excellent. The energy the lecturers brought and the vibrancy of our classmates. It is something that I will always carry with me. I would encourage anyone to come do the postgraduate diploma in leadership at USB. It's not just about the touchy-feely things, it's about what matters in society and in general. Thank you for the opportunity that I had. I'm a proud alumni at USB and will always be.
Hi, my name is Yolanda and I graduated with a PG DIP in Leadership Development in 2020. Doing the PG DIP in Leadership Development in 2020 was particularly good in my case, since at the beginning of 2020, I moved from a support role to a more managerial or leadership role. So I really needed some background and assistance in self-development and learning how to assert myself in that space. Faculty at USB in leadership development were excellent. We enjoyed working with them. We all peers in the same environment, and we learn from one another and we learn from their expertise. And I really enjoyed doing the program, and I would recommend to anybody to do it.
My name is Lusanda Dodo. I am a Master's Development Finance graduate from the University of Stellenbosch Business School. I work for the Eastern Cape Socio-Economic Consultative Council. My experience as a student at the business school, for me, the diversity of students that the program attracts from different careers and countries makes the program more relevant, and it provides a basis for continuous improvement, and hence it continues to remain relevant. The program, the Masters in Development Finance, provided me a strong grounding in terms of research. In fact, I graduated with distinction for my dissertation, And post the program, I submitted a paper in an internationally peer-reviewed conference, which was accepted, and the final output was published in Australia.
Hello, my name is Nonhlanhla Mbekeni. I studied a postgraduate diploma in business management and administration at the business school, class of 2020. Through this program, I developed an understanding of business concepts and applications. I acquired practical knowledge and strategies that have strengthened my professional skills. I must say that the program tested my abilities to work under pressure, manage my time, and to cope with group dynamics. These were the traits that I did not pay attention before. The program has helped me tremendously in these aspects. The completion of this program has opened doors for me at the business school. I can successfully apply the knowledge of business communication, problem solving, and business technology strategy and implementation, as this knowledge is required in my line of work. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Zahn Horrell, and I'm an alumni of the PG Dip and Masters in Future Studies from the USB. Future Studies has completely changed my life. It's changed my career, and I finally found the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life. Being involved with Teach the Future South Africa and Foresight Fundamentals has given me the opportunity to affect the change in the world that I want to see. Doing future studies at the USB has also introduced me to the most amazing people who are also all change makers of the 21st century.
So I'm Akansha Malik Nair. I'm currently a Deputy Director in the Department of Economic Development and Tourism in the Western Cape Government. My journey with the USB, in fact, started in 2014 when I did a management development program through the USB. I was so impressed by the quality of education, the quality of the faculty, and the knowledge that I gained at the end of that year that I actually ended up enrolling for the MBA the following year. Something that I'm extremely grateful for, beyond just the knowledge that I gained, was the relationships that I built during my MBA with my fellow classmates who have not just become lifelong friends, and also with the faculty who have acted like mentors in many junctures of my life, since, even during and even since I left the USB. So I'm very, very grateful, and to first of all have had this journey via the USB, but also to be a part of the USB alumni. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Deirdre Sampson, and I am an alumni of Stellenbosch University Business School. And I made the decision to study at the business school and to focus on future studies. I completed my postgrad and my master's. And my motivation at the time was really about looking at what are those rigorous disciplines, ways of thinking. And I think the great thing about future studies is it was so much more. The facilitators allowed us to really think critically about the future. They gave us that space to discuss various topics. What was great as well is the students that I interacted with came from diverse disciplines. And that is the beauty of future studies. Or futures, is that you can be in any industry, and it just gives you a different, a different view of what is going on in the world. I truly believe that no matter what position you're in, be it a leader, a manager, or part of a team, this is a skill that you need to develop. And I have thoroughly enjoyed both studying future studies and studying at the University of Stellenbosch.
Hi, my name is Kirsty Smith, and I recently completed the Senior Management Development Program through the University of Stellenbosch Business School. The university really practice what they preach, and in this VUCA world, we're agile enough to conduct the entire course online. What I found was the subjects were truly not just academic, but allowed me to apply the learnings in both my business and personal life. The integrated individual assignment, as well as our business-driven action learning project, enabled me to take my learnings and implement them in a business reality and on the ground to really embed the learnings. The connections I've built outside of my organizations, as well as strengthening my networks, has really enabled me to elevate my thinking. The biggest thing I learned on the course was taking the time to think as a leader and ensuring that I remember that it's not always up to me to solve all the problems, but really to engage those around me, to deep dive and understand what we're solving for and encourage them to be included in solving problems of our business.
Our next speaker is Dr. Nombeko Mbava, who will share information on the Alumni Association Future Fund. Nombeko is an accomplished leader and expert on public sector integrated reporting, monitoring, and evaluation. We are proud to say that she is an MBA alum of the business school, and most notably, she was recently appointed as full-time chair of the Financial and Fiscal Commission by our President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Thank you so much, Micheline. Many deserving high achievers would not have access to quality education without the generosity of donors who give the gift of education. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Nombeko Patience Mbava. I'm proud to say that I'm one of those who benefited from bursaries, financial assistance, and scholarships to gain world-class education. Without the generous support of donors from all walks of life, I can honestly say my life trajectory could have been different. We know, of course, that offering an outstanding quality education demands abundant financial resources. As we start this academic year at the University of Stellenbosch Business School, we need to be mindful that many deserving students are eager to have within their grasp a University of Stellenbosch Business School formal degree, a qualifying executive education course, or access to the Small Business Academy course offerings. Through the Alumni Association Future Fund, this is possible. We look, of course, to the University of Stellenbosch alumni, current students, corporate partners, institutions, friends, supporters, and donors like you to ensure that we can fulfill the expectations of incoming students as well as many future aspiring ones. Will you help support the leaders of tomorrow? Will you unleash the potential of future leaders through your generous donation, regardless of the amount? Your gift to the Alumni Association Future Fund can change the life of a deserving student and help them to access world-class education. The future of this fund rests on your shoulders. Every gift matters, and your giving and participation sends a clear message that you understand, are grateful for, and want to be part of the future. I know I am. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have achieved my MBA and my PhD at this world-class university. I am passionate about giving back. I want to help shape responsible leaders of tomorrow. I want to shape the future. Together, we can support others to get the best education possible. Giving any amount to the Future Fund will ensure that together we shape the next generation of responsible leaders. As an alumni, think back to your time at the business school. Whether you came to the business school from afar or near, when you arrived on campus, you were immediately part of a world-class community of leaders. Your leadership journey enabled you to find and use your voice to be a force of change in our country and the world. The power of the Stellenbosch University Business School education is that it gives you countless options. Think about that. Now, you can support other incoming students as they arrive at the business school to start a similar journey. Giving to the Future Fund is easy and straightforward. Choose the right option that best suits you. The details are on the chat box as we speak, and these can also be sent to you as well. Remember, with your donation of 100 rands or more, you will enjoy a tax benefit, and you will receive a tax certificate to facilitate your claim. Thank you again to all alumni, current students, corporate partners, institutions, and friends of the business school for your generous support and your gifts to the Alumni Association Future Fund. Again, remember, your gift matters. It can change your life. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we now segue to a presentation by my colleague, Mr. McDonald Chapwanya, who will talk to you about the journey of teaching and learning here at the business school during the pandemic. McDonald, take it away.
Thank you so much, Micheline. Esteemed guests, partners, family, and friends of the business school, a very good evening to you, and it's such a pleasure and an honor for me to walk you through the USB's teaching and learning journey. But before we do that, allow us to walk down memory lane a bit and recognize and appreciate how the teaching and learning landscape has evolved over the years. We'll do that first. From the days of the Greek fathers to Horace Mann, Eliot Massey to Second Robinson, the teaching and learning landscape has really evolved quite a lot. From the 1800s, when the blackboard was introduced and people like Horace Mann advocated for it so much, it was so interesting to read this quote by Josiah Bumstead, which says, "The inventor or introducer of the blackboard deserves to be ranked amongst the best contributors to learning and science, if not among the greatest benefactors of mankind." Such was how the blackboard was destructive and innovative in its days. We moved then to the 1930s when the overhead slide projectors began to trend, so to speak, pushed mostly by the US military forces as they trained their soldiers in World War II. We then go to the 1970s when television-based classes came into fold, driven mostly by American schools and universities. We then come closer to the 90s when we begin to see the growth of learning management systems. Words like Moodle, Sakai, Blackboard began to wiggle on our tongues. We then move closer to the 2000s where we saw the rise of blended learning, e-learning as coined by Eliot Massey. We saw the rise of MOOCs as well. And then we then move to HyFlex or hybrid learning spaces, which Dr. Antoinette also spoke about as being the future of teaching and learning. Now let's walk a bit into the USB teaching and learning journey. So as you saw there, from the days of chalk and talk to all the way to the adoption of hybrid learning technologies, the teaching and learning landscape has really evolved and transformed in leaps and in bounds. The same twists and turns are fully befitting the USB story itself. The USB has always been motivated by a desire to increase the quality, access, and relevance of business education throughout the region. Utilizing various technological and pedagogical innovations, our dream was to take teaching and learning beyond the hallowed walls of the university and one day enable teaching and learning from anywhere and everywhere. We've had visionary academics like Prof. Wim Givers, who instituted the first modular MBA in South Africa, and Prof. Martin Butler, who pushed the Stellenbosch University delivery into what has become known as HighFlex learning today. We also have Dr. Mariki Theron's Business Academy, which continues to serve the most deserving business leaders at the bottom of the pyramid. Engraved in their DNA, USB academics have always exuded a culture of breaking barriers and defying borders as we enlarge the USB footprint across cities, countries, and continents. Our journey goes back 2 decades ago, the year 2000, where our veterans like Prof. Andre Roux will drive 35 kilometers from the business school to the telematic studios of the Center of Learning Technologies to teach online. Back then was the seed sown. We then decided to bring it back home in 2015 with the birth of the Global Classroom. We invested in the necessary learning technologies, the expertise, and the relevant continuous professional development. And in 2015, we saw the birth of what we call the Global Classroom at the Belleville Park campus. That picture there on your screen is a picture of the early days of the Global Classroom. With the Global Classroom came the groundbreaking blended PG Dip in Business Management Administration. Again, the first of its kind on the African continent. Complementing the already existing modular mode of delivery, the inaugural blended classes had 52 students from across South Africa and the region. And in March 26, 49 of these students graduated for a 94% minimum time success rate. A year later, in the year 2016, the second cohort drew more than 100 students, and the demand of the blended PG dips kept increasing annually. It is thus no surprise that this mode is now used for all 6 PG dips at the USB, with collective record intakes in 4 out of the 6 programs this year, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, success is contagious. The success of the blended business management and administration PG dip inspired and paved the way for other programs to take this tried and tested route at the USB. Now that the market had spoken, a blended MBA was introduced in 2017 with 52 pioneering students. Similar to the PG dip, the numbers increased from year to year. Our journey took a twist for the better in the year 2019 to 2022, where our efforts were boosted with the Stellenbosch University strategic funding for USB's hybrid learning project. Special mention to Prof. Ronel Dupuy, our Vice Dean, Learning and Teaching, and Stellenbosch University Strategic Fund Committee for their support in this regard. With this funding, colleagues, a new teaching and learning team was formed, comprising of a new head of teaching and learning, a teaching and learning manager, hybrid learning designer, and a hybrid learning coordinator, amongst other roles. With this team, there was a huge paradigm shift from the technology to the pedagogy and the scholarship of teaching and learning. You'll also see in the next slide how prophetic or timeless the birth of this team was. Colleagues, the year 2020 and 2021 was marked by the COVID cloud. Now, this team, born during the COVID birth pains, ensured continuity in teaching and learning excellence in this new world. Though it was described as an abnormal world, for us, it was business as usual. Through continuous professional development of faculty, intensive training workshops, and continuous research, and through thorough monitoring and evaluation, we continued to move boundaries. Like Dr. Antoinette already put in, we were just put in fast-forward mode by COVID. We'll conclude this evening with one of the products of this team that went viral. Our journey then moves to what the EDUCAUSE Horizon report already mentioned as the future of teaching and learning, hybrid. Parallel to all these efforts that this team was doing in 2021, there were long hours of workshops, consultation, curriculum design, and redesign as the team put together with the USB management and faculty a whole new portfolio of PG dips with strong support, as usual, from Marianne Bester, our advisor for program review and renewal at Stellenbosch University, and Melissa van der Pfeiffer, advisor academic planning at Stellenbosch University as well. Colleagues, with these efforts and with the changing global teaching and learning landscape, the Global Classroom morphed and transformed into what is now known in the internal business school community as the HighFlex classroom. That picture you see in the top right corner is a picture of the HighFlex classroom. As we speak, there are renovations being done in our HighFlex classroom so that, again, we remain trendsetters and we defy borders. It was also inspiring to see how our head of teaching and learning, Prof. Martin Butler, was invited to stages in North America, Europe, and Asia to share our hybrid learning success with the internal business school community, something which Prof. Mark already alluded to how Stellenbosch University was a step ahead of other European and American counterparts. I've spoken a lot, but I know we believe that numbers don't lie. I'll close by just sharing a few statistics. As you see on the screen there, our MBA, which started with a head count of 52 blended students in the first cohort, grew to an astonishing 120 students in the year 2022. As a percentage of the entire cohort, in 2017, the blended contributed 26%. And 5 years later, in 2022, our blended cohort constitutes 71% of the MBA cohort. On the PG dip, in 2015, what began just as one program in a blended mode grew and multiplied, and 7 years later in 2022, we have 10 programs on the PG dip and MBA in a blended or hybrid format. The headcount in 2015 for that PG dip was 72, as mentioned earlier, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we sit with over 1,000 students in our hybrid classes. More importantly, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an amazing journey for us, an incredible journey of learning, unlearning, and relearning. And we take pride in the fact that we now have alumni on each and every continent of the world, including Antarctica. Yes, including Antarctica. The big question, after all is said and done, is what is next? Ladies and gentlemen, as pioneers and trendsetters, we are never comfortable nor content with mediocrity. Our goal of delivering a wow experience for our stakeholders and our innate agile DNA spurs us on a continuous path of research and improvement. With the game-changing potential of artificial intelligence, cloud-based solutions, virtual reality, Internet of Things, and the metaverse, we will never stop dreaming and moving. With that, we take our hats off to the ever-supportive USB management and the always eager faculty and the ever-present staff who ensure we live our promise and deliver our promise. What does the future hold? As far as the future is concerned, allow me to conclude with a short video that provides some pointers on how we are stepping into the hopefully post-pandemic future of teaching and learning.
Sure. McDonald, we did more than say something, hey? We did it, we delivered, we continue to do it and deliver. After that, I'm handing over now to Professor Martin. Sorry, Martin, it's your name again. I call on Professor Martin Butler, Head of Teaching and Learning, to do the word of thanks. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Micheline. Good evening from my side, ladies and gentlemen. In any team effort, somebody needs to do the easiest job, and I allocated that to myself very quickly. So all I have to do tonight is to do the thanking. Mark, thank you for opening, for setting a beautiful context for the evening to follow. Antoinette, thank you for stepping in on short notice, and I'm ecstatic that our keynote from America withdrew, because I think you provided brilliant context, and I truly appreciate you stepping in. You've been a great friend of the business school, and we look forward to pushing the creative tension to ensure that the dean wrap Mark on the knuckles at least once every 6 months, because the business school is running ahead of the curve again. Dr. Mbava, as we know, academics are very underpaid. We don't have a lot of extra cash, but I could already see all of my colleagues putting their hands into their pockets. So if the poorly paid academics is already contributing to the future fund, I'm sure there's a lot of funds that's coming from our students that earn big salaries in industry. McDonald, your energy is tangible, and you excellently depicted the journey, not just for the business school, but picking it up in the 1800s. Thank you. Extremely well done. Colleagues behind the scenes, there's also a lot of people that's also doing a lot of hard work. I could probably flip my laptop around and show you the room that we're sitting in. On the far corner is Jonah and Paula. Thank you for all of the hard work. Janine and the entire team, truly, truly appreciate all of that. And then Micheline, when I asked you in December to do this, I told you I would not ask you if I don't think you could do it. I think you've done an exceptional job, and I think you may have been booked as Master of Ceremonies for the next 20 years. Really, really appreciate that. And colleagues from the Rectorate that I'm not going to mention by name, right down to the chairman of our advisory board, Simon, and all the other advisory board members, all of our students, all of my colleagues, support staff, all of the Business School University of Stellenbosch colleagues, thank you for spending the evening with us. We truly appreciate that you are here. There are 2 more events to follow. We've also given Mark a role to be a GTA this evening. So Mark said he would post the links in the chat. You may have seen that. My colleague, Professor Marius Ungerer, spent a significant amount of time to physically and virtually travel Africa to bring us Afrocentric business practices. I'm not entirely sure that's the correct title. You can look at the title of Marius's book. Marius, it's a book launch that I will never miss, and I'm really, really looking forward to that. And then on Thursday evening, we have a fantastic event where Professor Anita Bos and Sim Shabalala is hosting a Leaders Angle event for us. Please look at the link that Mark has shared with you there. So although this evening was the official lengthy opening of the academic year, this year we're doing it slightly different, and we've got 2 fantastic events to follow, and we hope to see everybody there. That's it from the teaching and learning team, and I'm handing over to Micheline for a final farewell and to share a little video with you.
Just for the record, and while we are recording, the first one is free. The next MC will be charged. So that concludes the formal proceedings of the evening. It's not possible to have an academic opening that focuses on teaching and learning as a theme without acknowledging the contribution of the faculty at the business school. We salute your innovation, your ingenuity, your perseverance during the challenging COVID pandemic. So now we play out with a tribute to the hard work of you, the faculty of the Stellenbosch Business School. May you all have a successful year ahead. Hamba kakuhle, tot ziens, good night.